Campers, Jazzy Jill here with another technique video. This month for August we are doing a Get Well card with Elmer the bug and the jar set, and you are going to learn how to create the jar to make it look like a frosted glass mason jar instead of just a plain flat stamped image. Using our embossing powder, you will be using the ice embossing powder to create this technique. And you will also learn how to take your cards to the next level with the embossing powder and the technique of generation stamping. In your kit, you will receive the full stamp set of Bugs and Jar. And this is a new set, but they're old images. They've both been released before, but not together in the same set. And they've been so popular together, we decided to create a new set with just these images. So come on over to my desk, and we're going to take a look at how to make your cards go to the next level with embossing powder. Okay, here's a closer look at the card. And you'll see that the jar has that glossy, glassy look to it, and it's the frosted mason jar with the highlights behind it with dimension. And then on the sentiment, we have the sentiment embossed and then inked up here for your generation stamping. So let's go ahead and get started. In your kit, you will receive the whole new Bugs and Jar stamp set, and you are going to take your white cardstock along with the jar stamp set, and I'm going to use Memento black ink, and you're going to ink that up and stamp on your white cardstock. And this is a stamp that has a lot of solid space to it. You want to make sure when you're inking it up not to get a lot of black ink in the middle here. If you do, you can take a wipe and gently wipe that out so that you don't have to worry about getting that on your paper when you stamp. But when you stamp, then stamp it straight down. Give pressure to the edges, but don't push straight in the middle, because then you have more tendency to get this blank rubber in the middle, and you don't want that. So go ahead and just stamp straight down, and you get your good image. And then I am going to take Elmer, this cute little bug, and this is the medium size Elmer. And I'm going to stamp him 3 times in the jar. And then I am going to use Copics to color it with. You can use whatever method of coloring that you choose. I am going to color the bugs in with R02 and R05. And I'm just going to go ahead and color the whole bug R02 and then do my shading with R05. Okay, now I have my bugs colored, and I want to give the jar some dimension and some depth instead of just leaving the lines solid down the side. So I'm taking C1, my gray marker, and I am just going to go in the sides and brush in some shading on the edges. And I'm going to go down both sides. This just helps give the jar some depth and give it a more realistic look instead of having it be so flat. And I'm putting down a heavier line towards the edge and then flicking my brush up towards the middle so I have a light feathered look. Okay, when I get down to the bottom, what I'm going to do is draw a half circle in so that I get the bottom of the jar, and I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit darker there. Okay, so there is my jar. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out.
Okay, now I have my jar stamped and colored and cut out, and it looks okay, but it really needs something more. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Versamark and we're going to smush the whole image, the whole front side, into the Versamark. We want to get a good coverage of the Versamark so it'll hold the embossing powder well. Okay, and then we're going to use our coffee filter and the ice embossing powder that's in your kit, and you're just going to go ahead and cover the whole thing. Okay, and then we're going to emboss that. Okay, wow, take a look at that. What a difference that layer of embossing powder made. It made it look like a frosted mason jar, and you can still see the bugs inside because it's a transparent embossing powder, but it just gave it that nice glossy glass look, frosted glass look. So there's your jar, and then we're going to make the topper for it. In the kit, there's two tops to it. We're going to use the cloth covered top, and you will receive a piece of patterned paper, and you're going to ink it up with your stamp with your memento again, and then just stamp it. And I went back with a YR12 marker and just added some more shading along the lines where the artist had drawn the dots. It just adds a little bit more dimension and shading on your image. So go ahead and color that in and then cut it out. Okay, now I'm done cutting the topper out, so I've put a piece of 1/4" Terrific tape on the back, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it to the top of the jar, like that, and now we're ready to put our card together. Your card is actually a 4 1/4" square this month, and we are going to stamp and emboss the sentiment on the card. We're going to stamp the first one. We're going to do a generation stamping, but we're going to start with an embossing powder first. So we're going to use our static free bag and swipe it across your cardstock, and then your Versamark, and ink up your stamp. And then I'm stamping down in the bottom lower hand corner of the card. And in your kit, you will receive a pumpkin embossing powder. So we are going to emboss the sentiment with pumpkin. Okay, so I'll go ahead and heat that now. Okay, and then for the generation stamping, we're going to use Memento Tangelo, and what you do is you're going to repeatedly stamp the image without re-inking it. So I'm going to ink it up really good with the Tangelo, and then I'm going to stamp it once directly above it, and then I'm going to give it a huff. Just huff on it to put some more moisture on it. And I'm going to stamp it again, huff on it again, and then I'm going to do this 4 times. And your last one is a really, really light image, and it just fades away from dark to light. And when you emboss it, it just gives it another layer of dimension. So now we're ready to tie our ribbon around the top of the card. And you will receive some twine in your in your kit, and it's going to go around the card front 2 times. And then you can either tie it in a knot or in a bow. I'm going to go ahead and tie it in a bow. Just like you're tying your shoes. And I'm going to move it up to the top here. And then I am putting the jar on with dimensional tape so that it will be raised up over the string, twine. And I'm only going to leave the embossed "Heard You Caught a Bug" completely and cover up the other images. So there you go. There's the front of your card. And what a cute card this would make on top of a little care package of chicken noodle soup or hot tea or something for a friend who's not feeling up to par. Just a really cute card. It could be masculine, feminine. I just think it's cute. And then to finish it off, of course, then you want to put Elmer on the inside of the card. Just going to stamp him down there. He's just too cute. And then I just wanted you to see the difference between all stamped sentiments and then the sentiments with the embossing first and then the stamping above it, the generation stamping. When you emboss a sentiment or an image, it just gives it so much more dimension and so much more depth and pizzazz to your card than just plain flat ink. So next time you go to stamp a sentiment, look and see if you have an embossing powder to emboss it with. It just makes a big difference when you're making a card. Hope you enjoy this month's technique video, and I will see you again next month. Happy stamping!